cat in the wall, eh? Okay, now you're talking my language.
Do you ever drunk Baileys from a shoe?
Oh, great. Thanks, Mother, for replacing the baby aspirin with LSD.
How much you want to make a bet I can throw a football over the mountain?
All right, welcome in to the View from CDeck. It's Michigan week. Fuck, your thing's frozen again. Why does this happen like every time? You there?
Yeah.
I'm gonna hang it up and call you back. Okay, no, you're back.
Okay.
All right, Caroline, if you're watching, get ready to start it soon. Okay. All right, welcome into the View from CDeck, and it is rivalry week. The game should be the only thing we talk about, but we're going to go ahead and talk about these CFP rankings that came out and give our gambling picks still, because that's just what we do here, man. We got to throw it out the love. Yep. But just remember, the game is the only game that actually matters this weekend. But first, we'll talk about the CFP rankings really quick. They were more interesting than I was anticipating. They got a little weird with it, and I think it just keeps making less and less sense to me. But the top four were not a surprise at all. Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Michigan 3, TCU 4. A little bit surprising after that, maybe, to some people. LSU 5, which USC is 5 in the AP poll, correct? And then USC 6. So it's definitely looking like they're trying, and Bama's still ahead. Bama 7 and Clemson at 8, so they're still ahead of Clemson. Definitely looks like they're aiming to get LSU into the playoff, except for them they have Tennessee all the way down at 10, behind two teams that they beat.
Yeah.
Casey, hit me with it. Why does this make sense?
It doesn't make sense. I think they screwed themselves by having LSU so high to begin with, because then Tennessee got throttled. They had to. They were right ahead of LSU, so LSU had to jump them, even though Tennessee beat LSU by what, 4 scores?
Yeah, 27 points.
Yeah, they absolutely destroyed them. So apparently, yeah, what you do on the field doesn't matter if it was more than a month ago in the eyes of the committee, apparently. And then, yeah, Alabama being ahead of Clemson still, it's almost like they're still trying to give them a chance, but there's no chance in hell. But it obviously tells me that USC, in a way, needs help, but their help is just Georgia not shitting their pants against LSU.
Yeah.
Because LSU is going to get in over USC if they win the SEC championship, and then obviously Georgia will still get in over USC, I would think.
What's super interesting is, now I was just thinking about it, I just looked real quick. So they have 2 7 and 4 teams in Texas and Louisville, neither of which was ranked last week.
Yeah.
You know who I didn't just say there? South Carolina. I said Texas and Louisville are both ranked 23rd and 25th respectively, 7 and 4. The 7 and 4 South Carolina Gamecocks, who just rocked this Tennessee team that you've had ranked so high all year, and I mean rocked them, and they're still 10th. They're not in. Who's Texas? Yeah. Who the fuck has Texas beat to be ahead of South Carolina right now? They're ahead of them in all the polls. I don't understand that, though.
And by that same logic, who has Alabama beat? They beat Texas, who they put ranked this week, which I don't think they should have, and Ole Miss. Those are like their 2 biggest wins. Ole Miss just got beat too, right?
Oh, not beat. They got destroyed by a 6 and 5 Arkansas team. Destroyed.
So it makes no sense to me that they're just giving more love to Alabama. But the one good thing for us, and I don't even want to mention the words, but if we could potentially lose, the difference between us and Clemson is so wide that I'm not sure Clemson would get in over us.
I agree with you. I agree with you. That it's because they have Penn State so high, Clemson won't have any wins. Carolina losing killed Clemson, even though they haven't played them yet. Because their opportunity for a nice win, but South Carolina winning should have helped them. But again, South Carolina's not ranked, so Clemson's not getting that boost this week. It
tells me
it almost seems like they're against Clemson right now, to be honest. And you know me, I told you my rankings. I haven't done my rankings I haven't completed them yet. I'll put them in the comments though later on. Yeah, Clemson's resume is definitely better than Alabama's. Like, I don't think it's even close, to be honest with you. Like, it's just dumb. And it does seem like the committee has it out to keep them out, which is good for Ohio State, I guess. But it's this whole thing is just every way they could rank one team above another. You could poke a different hole in another situation that they have it. And you're right. It seems like the earlier game, there's total poll inertia too. Nobody moved up over another team ahead of them that won, which is how all polls work. And that's how this poll used to not work. And now it's like they decided, no, this year poll inertia. This year it matters when you lose.
Yep, and it hadn't been like that early years.
They haven't.
14, 15, 16, even 17. And since then, it seems like the whole Alabama getting in over Wisconsin and us, whatever year that was. 17, yeah. But what really all I care about is us. So that tells me if USC loses either to Notre Dame or in the Pac-12 championship, I think we're in regardless, unless we get our doors blown off this week.
Or if LSU upsets Georgia, that could throw it off.
Yeah, true. But that's a lot less likely than USC losing. So definitely LSU's. See, I could see USC passing them after this week, though, if they beat Notre Dame. Because LSU's playing Texas A&M, is obviously trash this year. So maybe they're waiting for that, for one more good win from USC. But yeah, but LSU they'd jump right back past them if they beat Georgia.
I would think so, too. But they have Oregon 9th, and that's who USC most likely plays, unless Oregon loses to Oregon State.
And then who would they play? Utah?
No, they'll play Oregon. USC will.
No, if Oregon loses.
Oh, I don't even know. Maybe UCLA again. Actually, it might be Oregon State.
I think it's Utah, isn't it? Maybe.
I don't. Let me see Oregon State's. Oh, they don't see USC, Utah, Washington. Yeah, actually, Washington is probably in the driver's seat, I would say.
Jeez, that's Big Ten West. Okay, but a lot better.
It's not the Big Ten West. They take the second place team. Washington's 9-2.
Yeah, I'm saying the debate second team is so open.
Gotcha.
There's 5 teams that can get it.
All right. Well, with all these scenarios, we better talk about these games and get some betting lines out there. But as always, we're going to start with the Ohio State Buckeyes against that team up north. The game. It's going to be raining, it looks like now. It's going to be mild, though, for November, around 50 degrees. So who knows? As long as the wind seems mild, around 10 miles an hour, which is a pretty much everyday wind here in Columbus.
Yeah.
Ohio State 7.5-point favorites now. It was 8.5 when we recorded our preview of the game. That still hasn't posted. It'll be posted at the same time as this. But so now that the points are down, I had picked Michigan. I can't believe I just said their name. I picked those assholes from the state up north. I'm going to go with us now, though. I'm feeling more and more confident the closer we get to game time. I told you, it's starting to feel like one of those times where if you asked me 2 weeks ago, would I have said it's a complete failure if we lose to them? Or I guess not complete failure. I'm wording this improperly. It's always a complete failure if we lose to them. But would I be surprised if we lost to them? No. Now I'm to the point where I kind of would be surprised, and it would hurt a lot more if we lose to them, to me. So I'm laying the 7.5, and I'll take the Buckeyes officially on this podcast.
Yep, I am the exact same way. I don't think the weather is going to be as big of a factor as a lot of people are thinking, because everybody's thrown that out last year that we couldn't play in the snow. But if you think about it, Stroud threw it all over the freaking field in the snow. That didn't stop our passing game. It was more about we couldn't stop their rushing attack, and we couldn't run the ball. Those were the two things we had to fix in the offseason. And I think we have fixed both of those for the most part. Now, we've had injuries to running backs, which have kind of put a damper on things. But Knowles is the man. I trust him. I really think he's not going to let a one-dimensional team beat us. He's just not. And I trust Hayden. Hopefully mine's good to go. I'm not holding my breath on that at all. But I think we have a better rushing attack this year, and we have a lot better rushing defense. So I don't think the weather's going to be that big of a factor. It'll definitely benefit them a little bit if it is raining, but I see us covering. The revenge factor is huge in this one.
Hopefully, the last few weeks have been just us holding back a bit, and a mix of injuries of the guys that now we're just not going to play if they're injured. All right. Another team looking for the win. The one I said was being disrespected. Clemson, 14.5-point favorites at home against the South Carolina team that just waylaid Tennessee at home. Scored, I believe, in touchdown on their first 9 possessions. Spencer Rattler, all of a sudden, he's probably the number 1 pick in the draft again after all this time. Just kidding. It's always been stupid. But he actually did have a really nice game against a very porous defense last week.
Yeah.
It's not a porous defense at all. They've been playing really well since they lost that Notre Dame game. I mean, it's just only 2 games, but they beat the newly ranked Louisville Cardinals 31-16 in a game that wasn't really that close, and then they thumped and got me a W on my pick last week with them. And I picked them again this week because the minus 14.5 almost seems like a little bit too high after the way South Carolina played their game last week, and they're 7-4. They're no scrubs. The half point, I think, is trying to get the public to hook in. Daddy's not falling for that one. Clemson rolls big.
I picked the same game, I believe, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I had the same mentality there. South Carolina, I mean, they're coming off. That's got to be a huge emotional win for them. I mean, that had to be like their Super Bowl. I mean, Clemson's basically their rival, right? The rival outside of the.
Yeah, they're rivals. They play every year.
Yeah, but them not being in the same conference, it's hard to. They probably have a bigger rival within the conference. I don't know the SEC well enough.
No, they don't. It's definitely Clemson's biggest rival.
So that's where my head's at there is they're coming off that huge win. Nobody expected that at all. But the main reason they won is because Tennessee's defense is absolute dog shit. And Clemson is got the same old Clemson defense they always do. So, I mean, they're not even going to put up half what they did against Tennessee this week. I see
be a lot. It's going to be over 30.
half would be a lot. But I see Clemson rolling. They saw those rankings. They're not really being respected. They're thinking we got to put up big numbers. But in my opinion, if USC loses, well, this would be contradicting us, but I think they should get a shot. Their only loss is to a Notre Dame team that's ranked. But South Carolina is not getting as much love as they should if 2 4-loss teams suddenly get ranked this week, and they didn't. That was a shot.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think the committee's kind of playing it so that they don't want Clemson in. Georgia Tech and Georgia also at Nooner. Only a 35-point spread there, Casey. And actually, I kind of like Georgia Tech with the spread. They've actually been playing well. They beat North Carolina last week, which was a pretty huge upset. Nobody saw that one coming. And that's also screwing Clemson over pretty bad. But should be not a good game. This has been a very lopsided score almost every year as well. Georgia's covered it all the time. So I don't know why I'm taking Georgia Tech. Yeah, never mind. Forget that. Georgia 41-3, we'll say.
I stayed away from this one just because of the high spread. I could see them sleepwalking a little bit because they could theoretically lose this game and still make the playoff.
Yeah.
But it is a rivalry for them. So, I mean, I stayed away. They're going to throttle them, but that number's pretty big. I mean, I could see them winning like 42-14 and not quite cover.
Yeah, that's possible. I mean, and they got a bigger game next. They got bigger fish to fry, too. A team that most people thought would be one of that bigger fish they'd be frying, but they're not. Alabama hosting Auburn in the Iron Bowl. This game's been always tighter than it seems like it should be over the years, including last year when Auburn should have buried Bryce Young's Heisman hopes, and somehow he won it by being shitty the whole game and then going 99 yards, but I digress. I think he won it more in the SEC championship, but still, everybody's calling that a Heisman moment. I'm like, it was the Brett Favre in his New York days of he put himself in that predicament. It was by him playing poorly.
Me off too, yeah.
But Bama minus 22 this year. Auburn's awful. there's all kind of Lane Kiffin rumors flying around. That's been a pretty thing. But I'll take Bama laying the 22 though, because I think Auburn's just really bad this year. I don't think their offense is going to do much in this game, and Bama should have at least enough. They played decent okay against a really bad team last week against Austin Peay. But I'll take the Bama defense to hold this down and win like 30-7.
This is one of the picks. I picked Auburn specifically because it is a rivalry game. Usually is pretty close. It was what I had it at 22.
Yeah,
22. And then also you said they played well against Austin Peay. I was going to say they didn't play good enough to make me think they were a great team against a shitty ass FCS team right before rivalry week when we're playing formidable foe, and so is Michigan. It's so annoying.
Tennessee feels, by the way. This is what the disrespect is. Tennessee's out there playing a conference, a division rival, and they're playing that. Like, I guess Tennessee should have played that game in September, and they'd be still ahead of Bama because they beat.
Yeah. It should be. They need to change that freaking rule, but that drives me up the freaking wall. But anyway, I see this game being a little bit closer. Alabama has not looked like Alabama of old, pretty much all year. They've only dominated a couple of games really. 22 and
good teams, yeah.
In a rivalry game, I see this being a lot closer than that. I'm thinking like a 10-point game actually.
Okay. Oregon State, going out there for the Oregon Bowl, whatever the heck they call that. Oregon State only a 3-point dog. Oregon though coming off a very close win and has in the driver's seat for the Pac-12 championship game. As long as they win, or if Washington loses, I believe they're in. And it's only a 3-point line though. This has kind of got the ballsy pick line. But Oregon's played a lot of close games, too. It's not too ballsy. I'm not that sold on Oregon State, but they played USC close, only lost by 3 earlier this year. So this has a pushy line. And Bo Nix is a little banged up. I'll take the Beavers. We'll see. We'll take the Beavers with the 3 points. I'm not so sure I'm taking them outright, though. Just like I did call last week, the Baylor TCU game, where I said TCU wins by a point, but I'm taking the 2.5 with Baylor, and it worked exactly that way.
That was crazy.
Yeah, it's better to be lucky than good, baby.
I almost picked this with the ballsy pick strategy because I'm looking at that like scratching my head a little bit. But they do play in a lot of close games, so I stayed the hell away from it. If I had to pick it, I think I would go with Oregon because they have a lot on the line for this. Obviously, I mean, they can't make the playoff, but they can make a New Year's Six Bowl, win this game potentially. So I would go with Oregon, but that one's tough.
Yeah. Say if they win this game, they probably are in a New Year's Six, no matter what. Just which one is it? Rose Bowl if they win or not. All righty, we got TCU left. Now here is another, yet again, Vegas does not respect them at all, and I took this as one of my picks. Horned Frogs only laying 10 against last place Iowa State in the conference, and they beat most of these lines. Obviously didn't beat the line, didn't cover against Baylor, but took the last second field goals, running it on with no timeouts left, and ballsily running the ball before that. But they're a winning team. Max Duggan's a winner. I can't believe he's plus 4,000. I think those are, but I mean that means he has no shot of winning the Heisman, and Vegas already knows it, and that seems dumb to me. I'm gonna ride with the Horned Frogs though. I think I'm 5-0 picking their game so far this year. So mark it down, boys. TCU cover. Win by maybe 14.
I get in my own head with these. They all seem like ballsy pick status to me, but I've learned that that's just TCU, so I've stayed away from it. But I'm thinking they will cover because that spread is so low and Iowa State is trash. But TCU is, the way they're winning these games is kind of reminding me of our 2002 season a little bit, where teams that shouldn't be hanging around do for some reason, but they keep finding ways to win.
All right, another game I picked. LSU. This is almost ballsy pick territory too. LSU going to A&M, only 10-point favorites as well. Now it's at A&M, but A&M has been booty cheeks. Even when they have a get right game last week, they only win 23-9 against a crappy team. There is no such thing as a get right game for this team. Their offense is crap. I don't think they can hold it to 10 points. I'll take LSU by 27. I think they whoop their ass. And Jimbo's sitting there, people sending all the oil men down there in Texas, searching for their extra money in their box springs because they need to scrounge up $95 million to get rid of him. LSU laying the points.
Yeah, this is almost like a bet against Northwestern style. Like A&M is dog shit with all those 5-star recruits. Pretty hilarious. But I would go with LSU in this one for sure.
And then 7:30 game that I didn't get picks from the Haas, but I'm sure he's salivating over is USC, his boys, hosting Notre Dame, 5.5 point spread. I think they actually gave USC some respect here, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because they haven't blown out any good teams at all. Both their games have been really close. So Utah and UCLA both could have gone either way. They won one, lost one. So 5.5 seems like a lot almost, but I'm going to go with USC because I think it is almost a ballsy pick to go with the laying 5.5 with them the way they've played this year and the way Vegas has seen them. Like Vegas is the one that's been putting their lines a lot lower, like the other way, and it's been pretty spot on. I think they respect them now, so I'll respect them. And I hope he doesn't. This is a big game because Caleb Williams right now is almost even money with C.J. Stroud to win the Heisman. So if he goes off on Notre Dame, there's a good chance he does take it home. But I'll take USC laying the points here.
Yeah, I went with Notre Dame. This is probably more betting with my heart instead of my head because I want them to win. I do see this being a really close game, but it could be a really close game and they could still cover 5.5. Just the way college football is. I actually do. I'm thinking Notre Dame will win it. They've been on a tear since basically losing to Marshall, right? Is that the last loss? Marshall?
No, they lost to Stanford, which is even worse.
I don't know if that's worse than Marshall.
Stanford's like 4-6, 4-7.
Yeah, but they've been playing really well lately, so I see this being a really close game, like basically like that USC UCLA game, and they should have lost that game really, but UCLA's quarterback kind of choked at the very end there. I don't know why he tried to force that throw into triple coverage, but like I said, this is more heart than head, I think, because if they lose, we're basically in, and Stroud is gifted the Heisman as long as we beat.
I think that pick because I think he had a concussion and he shouldn't have been in the game because he definitely got not KO'd down near the goal line the previous possession. But I digress again. What a college coach not putting his players' health in? You're fine. Just go back in there. Okay, so Casey actually, I forgot to tell him that we were only going to pick like the games that affect the CFP this week. So he had a couple crap games. Anything to say about Penn State? You got Penn State minus 18, right? And you got Illinois minus 14 against that's against Michigan State. Illinois minus 14 against Northwestern. I'll just go the opposite against you on both games.
Penn State, I feel like they are a legit team. Like this would be real interesting if this was a 12-team playoff this weekend. This weekend would be freaking massive. Notre Dame had a legit chance they could have made the playoff if they USC. Penn State would be in if they win, I think.
Maybe I don't know about that.
It'd be close.
Yeah.
It'd be right there because the top 12 don't necessarily get in. It all depends on the 5 champs. But I went with Penn State. I think Michigan State is not good. They've been okay the last couple of weeks against inferior opponents. But I think Penn State is by far the third best team in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think they're going to throttle them. Could they potentially get a New Year's Six, or would they not?
Oh, they're almost a lock to get a New Year's Six if they win this game. The way they travel.
Yeah.
Okay. And Illinois, Anything to say about that crap-ass game? Are you just betting against Northwestern again?
I bet against Northwestern. They looked really good against Team Up North, Scum. They should have beat them last week. My opinion, I'm kind of glad they didn't beat them. But when I'm watching, I wanted them to beat them. That doesn't make any sense. But bet against Illinois or bet against Northwestern. Illinois looked good last week. That's my only logic.
All right. So all those games said, and with the big games coming up, who do you got in the playoff now? Obviously, I think we both had Tennessee in, and we're both definitely wrong about that now. They are done. So it has to be changing. I'm still keeping TCU and Ohio State and Georgia. And I don't know who I'm going to put in that fourth spot. I think it should be Clemson, and I think it ends up somehow being Clemson.
That's the same four I'm picking.
Yeah.
If we win, we're obviously in. TCU is going to beat Iowa State. I don't know if that's set who they're playing. Is it?
Yeah. It is not. At least there's no line yet, so I don't think there is.
Yeah.
The games that are set. So I think Kansas State. Pretty sure Kansas State actually locked that up.
Yeah.
There is no line on it yet. There's lines on all the other ones.
Definitely not Texas. It could be.
It's Kansas State. I'm pretty sure it got locked up.
Okay. So yeah, Georgia's in. They're going to smoke LSU, I think. We'll be in. We beat Scum. TCU will get in. And then that fourth team, because we beat Scum, Clemson gets into that fourth spot because I don't see USC running the table.
Right. So you think Scum does not get in over Clemson? It seems like they're setting that up.
But I think we would.
That's very possible.
Because of Notre Dame.
Their non-conference, which is, I do hope that if they shouldn't make it because of that non-conference if they lose to us.
Yeah. Yep.
So anybody could have done 3-0 whoopings against those three teams.
Bodies instead of scheduling Notre Dame or freaking Oklahoma or USC or Bama.
Right. Well, I'm sure all eyeballs though will be in Columbus. Go Bucks Saturday. Last time I talked to you on here, you're going to the game, right?
Yes.
Oh, you better bring that good juju. If they're losing at halftime, get your ass out of the stadium. I'm just kidding.
Keep me in your prayers.
If Quorum's out there hobbling, just go out there and take one for the team and take a shot at him, baby.
Yeah, I'll get arrested for the good of the cause.
Okay, I appreciate. See, this is why I like you. All right, that'll do it for us. Like, subscribe, tell us how much you hate Michigan, because that's the only thing that you need to be talking about in these comments. And I will update with my rankings in the comments and maybe Haas's picks. Who knows? Who cares? And we will see you guys next time.
Hey, guys. Whoa, big gulps, huh? All right. Well, see you later.
A rich man's world.